Well, welcome to Court 18, where you join us for a first-round singles encounter in the men's tournament between Nicolas Mahut of France and John Isner of the USA. Isner took the first set, 6-4. Only one break of serve in that set.
Let first service.
But Mahut broke back almost instantly, breaking Isner on his first service game to go 2-love up in the second. And it's been a match of high quality so far.
14.
Service games until towards the end of the first set have been utterly dominant. And Mahut has been returning impressively as this match has wore on.
Okay. No.
Closes out that service game with ace number 5. Really now, Mark, Isner's going to have to find something to keep himself in this set. 4-1 down.
Well, Mahut, as we well know, is a good grass court player. Having played so well at Queen's in 2007, he got to the finals there, remember, and had a match point against Roddick. So he's very familiar with grass court play. Good natural serve volley, although he's been forced to stay back quite a bit in the second set, and that's proved some dividends. But where he has been successful in the second set as opposed to the first set, he's been able to get the return of Isner's serve back, which is huge. He's a man who's 6'9", Isner. He's been hitting towering serves, and now as we're into the second set, Mahut is starting to read and understand and anticipate where that serve is going, and has been very much more effective on the return of serve. So that has been a key feature of this second set here. But an interesting match. Isner there really, I think, a little upset with himself, because having got the break in the first set and taking the first set, one felt that he possibly had got this match into control. But Mahut has responded extremely positively, playing some good tennis.
He's adjusted wonderfully to the acute extreme angle of the Isner serve, coming down from that towering height of 6'9", and then the extension and elevation as well when he jumps into it. It's he who's out of his seat first, itching to get on with proceedings, because the momentum is well and truly with the Frenchman in this second set. 28 years old, Mahut, and arrived at this year's Wimbledon via the qualification route, beating Britain's hope, Alex Bogdanovic, in the second round in a 3-set epic which took over 4 hours. 24-22 he finally prevailed in the final set. So he's had lots of grass court tennis leading up to Wimbledon 2010. And there you see the type of pulverizing forehand power from the racket of John Isner. Oh.
He lost his rhythm on his serve just a little bit in the early part of the match. He was serving second serves at about 125 miles an hour. I know it was a little warmer at the time, and therefore the ball was flying a little bit faster. But his serve was actually huge. Surprising and amazing what confidence will do.
30-15.
Out.
40-15.
Another big serve, really, 129 miles an hour. It's a powerful serve, and he's varying it quite well.
Game is eagle balls, please.
Closes out that game with ace number 5. So Mahut leading 4-2 in the second set.
Second set.
Well, now he's got to find a way, isn't there, of breaking the serve. Look at his service action. Look at the slice that he gets on that ball. That ball really rocketing past Mahut, hitting the back fence. A very effective shot. So Mahut's got the benefit of new balls here. That should give an extra zip to his serve.
Well-constructed point from Isner.
Love 15.
Set up with a good return of serve there, and that ball down the middle of the court gave Isner a choice of where to play the forehand.
Well, just a mild exclamation from Isner. Appeared to be caught in two minds. Ended up playing a nothing shot.
$13, $15.
121 miles an hour on ace number 6 from Mahut. Not as big a serve as Isner. Holding his own in the ace department.
14-15.
Well, it's been his strength and his weakness, really. Mahut, at the end of the first set, while serving, he served 2 double faults to lose his serve, which really was out of the blue. Must have got just a little bit tense. That may be the reason why his ranking has dropped. He's currently ranked 148 in the world. Plays on the Challenger circuit most of the time.
Mahut 5 games to choose. Second set, first set, Isner.
Had a career highest ranking of 40 back in February 2008. Best year-end ranking back in 2007 when he made the final of Queens. That was 45. I mean, he made that hugely impressive run during the Queens tournament, Mark. He beat the 5th seed, Ivan Ljubicic, and Rafa Nadal in the same day before going on to that
Yes, that was the
epic
highlight,
final
really.
with Andy Roddick.
He's always played well on grass. He won the juniors here some years ago, and 3 years ago he got through to the 3rd round against Federer. But in the last couple of years, he's been in the draw and lost in the 1st round. He's struggled a little bit with his form, I think, after 2007, when he started to really make some inroads into the game, and his game perhaps hasn't progressed as quickly as everybody would have hoped, or he would have hoped anyway. But good serve into the body there. He's varied his serve well, and that makes it tricky for a big man like Isner, particularly the ball into the body. I would think for him, who's so tall, that it is one of the hardest serves for him to deal with, particularly if it's into his right hip, because getting out of the way of it and then swinging the arm to make a good contact would be quite difficult.
Not out for the count, but on the deck.
And that's a real body liner, that one. Yes. Again, an excellent return by just blocking the ball back. Not much of a swing on the return, but just getting it deep, making it really difficult for the American.
30-15.
Another big serve from Isner, 122 miles an hour for his 7th ace.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Oh, when he's left it with that effective blocking shot you've been referring to, Mark, in evidence once again from Mahut.
It really dropped, didn't it? It was well inside the line. It was Poor judgment.
Well,
at the beginning of the match, Mark, you talked about the distinctive sound that the ball makes here coming off the racket on court 18, but from Isner's racket it sounds different altogether, such as the power he puts behind it.
It's a real crack.
Well, who made up a lot of ground to keep that ball in play, but Isner was equal to it, put away the volley nicely to hold his serve. Mahou now serving though for the second set.
Well, here he plays this disguised little drop shot. Mahou gets there and plays a reverse spin shot there, which almost bamboozles Isner. He manages to get the ball back over, but it wasn't a clean hit. Rather fortunate. Yeah, serving for the set.
15 love.
Really in a groove with his serve, Nicolas Mahou. Ace number 9.
Let for service.
So 3 set points then in favor of the Frenchman. Third double fault of the match for Mahou, and each time it's come at a critical juncture.
So that was a slightly ambitious, I think, second serve. It was 110 miles an hour, just missing the centre line.
Still set points for Mahou.
40-30.
So Mahou takes the second set, 6-3 to tie this match on court number 18 at 1 set all. And Isner just struggled to find any rhythm in that second set. He lost his first service game to go 2-love down. Held his serve for the rest of the time, but didn't really demonstrate the same type of free-flowing tennis we saw from him in the first set. Momentum very well and truly with Mahou.
He played a good set there, Mahou, in every aspect of his game. There are powerful serves soliciting an error on the return of serve, but it was his return of serve, I think, which was the significant shot for me. He started to read Isner's serve much better than he had done in the first set, and that so often happens when you're playing against an opponent. You know, after a while you instinctively start to feel where your opponent is going to serve, And he started to read his serve so effectively despite the power of Isner's serve. But, both players are serving well. There Isner's 81% of first serves in, so that really just shows how well, in actual fact, Mahut did return. It's been a serve which is a match which has been dominated really by serve, but when Isner's put his second serve into play, so he's down to 25% points have won, and that has been in many ways, I suppose you could argue, the Achilles heel, and that's allowed Mahut to return just that little bit better, and that turned the tide in this match. So these players now equally matched. Difficult to predict the outcome.
Third set, Isner to serve. Love.
Wonderful tennis, because the shot from Isner was so deft, but look at the ground that Mahut makes up and just curves this backhand shot around from such a low angle to find the tram line.
.15. Game is there. First game, third set.
Well, big things expected from this player, John Isner from the United States. Started this tournament, well, he's ranked 19, he's the 23rd seed. Started this tournament at 66-1 and picked by none other than John McEnroe as an outside bet on BBC television last night. Perhaps as a result, his odds have subsequently dropped to 50-1 to take the entire thing. He's got a fight on his hands here.
Yes, Isner now returning from the more difficult of the two ends, because particularly in the deuce court, sun is in the eyes as receiving serve.
Outs. 30 love.
That's right, here is looking directly into the sun as his opponent serves. Not the easiest of conditions to return effectively.
Let for service.
And if to shield against that sun, wearing his cap in conventional fashion. Considerable glare at that end of the court. That's just too good. Nice volley from Mahut.
40 love.
This is the perfect volley from this situation. It's just on the service line, but it's look where that ball bounces and crosses the tram lines there. Made it impossible for Isner to get to it.
Game mode.
Another service game to love.
One game.
Just encouraging himself verbally, Mahut. Serve hard and high into the body.
It's the speed gun says 132 miles an hour for the second server. It's a huge serve.
Let for service.
He was demonstrating that type of speed in the first set. On his second serve,
13.
fell away slightly during the second, perhaps suggesting a loss of rhythm, loss of timing. Does a second serve of that speed suggest that he's got his game and his thoughts back together? He's playing well, but just outfoxed in that second set. That one service break.
Taylor.
Just sort of re-established the pattern of the first set, which was dominated until the 9th game by serve, with hardly any break chances at all.
Game. Isner.
Isner returns a compliment with a service game to love.
Isner leads 2 games to 1. Third set, 1 set off.
And you can see why John McEnroe makes the statement that he does. If he were to serve as consistently as he served in the last couple of games for an entire match, or in fact the tournament, it really is very difficult to know how to get that ball back into play. You can't see him really losing his serve at all, and he uses his full height. It really is a good rhythmical serve. Occasionally comes into the net, as he does on this point, just to add a little bit of variety. But look at, he really reaches up and stretches there. The throw of the racket naturally moves forward, and not an easy man to pass at the net, being 6'9". So it's a lot of talent there to work with.
And surprisingly at that size, and growing up in America as a basketball player of some repute, before deciding to stick with tennis from the age of 14.
But thankfully he went the tennis route. He went down the intercollegiate route, didn't he? The Georgia something or others, were they?
Georgia University, the Bulldogs, their nickname.
Right.
Led that team to the NCAA tennis title in his senior year in 2007. He's been a pro since that time. Won his first title on the ATP Tour earlier this year in Auckland. How much confidence will he have taken from that?
Bold.
Made a final in Memphis as well. So perhaps now getting the level of belief required to accompany his considerable physical ability. And that is a very nice passing shot. Deep and wide beyond the outstretched forehand of Mahut.
Yes, good point. He must feel if he can get the ball back into play and keep his opponent at the back of the court, he must have a better than 50-50 chance of winning those points, and they are priority points for him to win.
So Mahut moves into double figures on the ace count.
It's been a good crowd around this court. They're enjoying this match. That ball really leapt off the court, bounced high, possible to control.
Bludgeoning power
40-30.
being demonstrated by Isner, whose movement has been wonderful at even attempting to try and run that one down. The baseline in a flash from Isner.
Third set.
So we're all square. One set apiece. 2 games all. Going with serve here in set number 3.
Yeah, it's just 3 points against the serve in 4 games. So as we say, the return of serve absolute premium. Mahut now in the sun as he receives the serve.
Good deep return on the ground stroke from Isner. So Isner's third double fault. Again, that second serve, 121 miles an hour. Fantastic direction on that serve. Beyond the outstretched racket of Mahut.
Well, again, that's a good return by Mahut. It's a lifeless ball. He's having to generate the pace. It's coming in so quickly. Didn't quite time it correctly.
Good tennis, because that was a good return from Mahut. But Isner was equal to it.
Isner leads 3 games to 2. Third set, 1 settle.
Well, Isner's done his job, and the key for both players is to hang on to his serve, and Isner did that there. And now both players really just looking for an opportunity, waiting for the opportunity. As long as they keep serving well, just waiting for the opportunity for the break. But this was an interesting point because it's a fine return, a reflex return there by Mahut. Not quite deep enough, but it was a good shot, but it needed to be just a little bit more, little deeper to trouble Isner. Isner moves well here, gets to the side of the ball, moves his feet and plays his trusty forehand. He hits a good forehand, a solid shot. I think it's his favoured wing, really. But movement is, one would think, would be a question mark for someone so tall, but he's pretty agile, I have to say. It's surprising that these days there are so many players on the tour who are 6'6". Cilic, Karlovic 6'10". Isner here. Once upon a time, a player of over 6'3" was considered to be tall, and you felt that they wouldn't have the mobility, or you could catch them at their feet. But these days, these tall men are great athletes. It's a big change in the game.
So Mahut to serve. 1 set all. 3-2 Isner in the third set. who elected to leave it, and it was the correct decision.
And that was a pity for having made such an effort there to get up to that ball, just missing. Who, of course, delighted to see it go out.
Good service. Thirtila.
That is a superb serve. Didn't have to hit it too hard. In fact, the speed was really to keep the speed off, to allow the spin to take effect.
And that's a marvellous return.
40-15.
I'm really sharp here to block that one back, isn't it?
Game. New balls, please.
Closes that game with ace number 12.
3 games all. Third set.
To tie the proceedings at 3 games all. Second time these two players have met. One previous meeting was Mahut came out on top. The second round at Queen's 2008. Perhaps it being such a relatively long time ago now won't be too big a factor in the mind of Isner, and of course he will feel that he's improved since then. It's not just he who feels he's improved. Indeed, he was named the ATP's most improved player for last year, 2009. Succeeding Jo-Wilfried Tsonga as the recipient of that accolade. Again, big things expected of John Isner. Well played.
Well, again, a good serve volley technique, not the technique that you see too often these days, but certainly he's the sort of player who can exploit that to great effect.
Portila.
Isner moves into double digits on the ace count. Wow, that was all predicated on a fantastic return of serve.
40-15.
From Mahut.
Oh. Game. Isner.
129 miles an hour on that serve.
Isner leads 4 games to 3. Third set, 1 set all.
It's difficult really to put the speed into a context that one can appreciate. I suppose the only way of thinking about it is if you stood on a motorway or were at a racetrack and a car was coming to you at 125 or 30 miles an hour, then that gives you some sort of idea of how quickly you've got to move. I know the ball slows down as it goes from one end of the court to the other, some 78 feet, but nevertheless it really means that you've got to have made a decision, I think, almost before the ball is hit, as to where it's going, because that really is instinct. It has to be, and that you hope that you have to take a gamble that you pick the right side.
And as you already pointed out, Mark, not just the speed, which is tremendous coming from the racket of Isner, but the unconventional, uncommon angle from which it's coming.
Yes.
Steep, kicking up really high, but Mahou has done a good job adjusting to that and has returned better, more impressively as the game has gone on.
He has done. I think this set, though, Isner has served a little bit better than he did in the second set, having lost his serve early in the second set. I think he lost a bit of concentration, quite frankly, having broken and won the first set 6-4, and then he lost his opening service game in the second set. And I think it possibly was through a little bit of concentration. He's now sharpened up a lot more in this set, particularly on his serve.
So this is a key game then for Mahou. 3-4 with serve. One set all. Swerve and slice and spin on that ace from Mahou. Fourth double fault on Mahou's serve. Fantastic serve once again from Mahou.
Game.
And it's not as quick
4 games off
as the serve of Isner, but it's proven to be just as effective. 15 aces now for the Frenchman.
Yes, he's placing it so well. Look, in this particular instance, deep. In fact, Isner was, I think, expecting on the forehand. It really got him guessing. So we haven't had a deuce game in this entire set.
Well played. Approached the net successfully in engineering that point.
15 up.
A little bit of old school serve and volley.
Yes, Tim Henman would appreciate that, wouldn't he?
30 love. Okay.
There's number 12 for Isner.
Isner is 5 games to 4, third set, 1 set all.
Holds his service game in impressive fashion. And will now, Mark, will really be looking to try and force a break, sneak a break, anything he can do just to nick this second set, which has gone with serve all the way.
Yes, indeed. The pressure is just marginally on Mahut, the Frenchman here, being serving the 1 game behind. So clearly the first couple of points on his service game will be key. Just taking a little bit of nourishment there. It's a long match, a tough one. Just 8 points have gone against the serve in this set. We've had 9 games, so really not a lot of inroads have taken place on the return of serve. But it's at times like this, at this stage in the set, that things can go awry. Concentration has got to be really kept focused. There's a splendid view there of the grounds on the side of the All England. Masses of people here really enjoying the tennis. This court holds the crowd well. It's an excellent court to get the atmosphere for the spectators. It is. The crowd there you can see above the media centre just longing for a glimpse of this at this key stage in this match. Who's serving 4-5. He's placing his serve so well at the moment, the Frenchman. One right on the line. Here we are, 15 aces to Isner's 12.
Good tennis. Because Mahut did fantastically well to dig out that return from off his toes. Keep the ball in play. But Isner put it away nicely.
Well, Isner will be kicking himself there. A little bit of a chance. He's in good position to make an impact with his forehand. They're points really which make the difference in a set like this.
What a winner. 8-stroke rally between these two players.
40-30.
Right on the line from Isner. So Mahut holds serve.
5 games all, third set.
Already mentioned that former winner of Junior Wimbledon back in 2000. A couple of years before that was a national champion. Both the under 15 and under 16 and under 17 and under 18 level in 1998. Court 18 now totally in shade.
Good point by the Frenchman here. This ball was at 3/4 court and it gave him a chance to be decisive, hit a good forehand. Started off with a good return of serve though, and that's the important elements here. Be looking for a good return, in fact, to get the ball back with interest.
Managed to get a racket on that.
15 on.
Dösner had the entire court practically at his mercy. Chose correctly and put it away very well. Oh, the ace count
30-15.
is considerable from both players. That's his 13th.
Yes, Mahut just questioning that. Very close that serve, but he's accepting the call.
Good hustle from Mahut to get there, but couldn't control the shot.
It's nearly 6 games to 5. Third set, 1 set all.
Isner holds serve. So Mahut looking to force a tie break. Isner looking to nick this second set by forcing his first service break of the third.
Yes, there's a degree of comfort there for Isner at this stage. Did well to get that ball back at full stretch. It's a bit of a lifeless ball that is just short of the service line. Who having a chance here really to make the pass, but a clever little angled volley. And again, who has a chance really could have been up to that ball just a fraction quicker, and that shot would have been a much easier one down the line. So a quick change of shirt. Maybe that's a change of fortune for him. As have little idiosyncratic views about things, and so often that can alter the confidence level.
Time.
Some players don't like to walk on the lines, but the pressure just a little bit on Mahut again. He responded well on the previous service game because he's the one who's got to hold his serve to stay in the set. He has to put that out of his mind. But a fitting conclusion, I think, to the set will be a tie break.
Both men's service games have been rock solid here in the third set.
Left for service. $15. Tila. 30-15.
It's a case of self-defense and playing that volley straight at his body.
Well, it's the second time he's done that in this match, and on this occasion it worked. He cut out any angle. It was a difficult one. He was closing in so fast to the net, so good tactics by Isner. Now a glimmer of an opportunity here at this stage. 30 all. It's the first time we've had 30 all in this entire set.
Isner perhaps realizing, you saw his reaction,
40-30.
just what a big moment that was. Perhaps try and force a break point.
Third set tiebreak.
So the first tiebreak of the match. Both players doing a fantastic job with their service games. Who will prevail here? Isn't this a serve to begin the tiebreak?
That's an inauspicious start for Isner. His tiebreak record is pretty good at his career. Tiebreak record 73-43. Mahou is 28-56. So on the basis of the stats, Isner should be winning this. That's quite a courageous second serve there by Mahou. Really put quite a lot of kick on the ball. Good depth with the serve.
Across the court in an effort to retrieve that ball, but just couldn't control the shot.
Well, it's a fine volley this at full stretch. He did well to anticipate that shot down the line there, the Frenchman. Isn't it not quite quick enough to get to it? A good position for the Frenchman. He'll be looking to get one of the next 2 points here, just to consolidate his initial lead.
Oh my goodness. 127 miles an hour.
Yes, can you imagine serving a second serve, love 3 down in the tiebreak at that speed? That's amazing. done the job he needed to do, and that was to hold his 2 points. And the roles have now reversed. He'll be looking to get just one, if not both, of the points against the Mahou serve.
That is a good shot. This brings a mild celebration from Nicolas Mahou.
That's a solid volley, really, from behind the service line there, just inside the baseline. I think he had a slight palpitation of the heart there when he executed that shot as to whether it was going in, but it did, and well in. So it's 4-2 to Mahou.
Volleyed well during that rally. And the attempted deft forehand
4-3.
just got it wrong.
Yeah, slightly ambitious shot in view of the circumstances, but a good shot by Isner. Kept it low, made it tricky for him. A little bit of a sigh of relief, I think, for the American.
Wow, that serve up at 138 miles an hour.
That's a cracker. It sounded like it too. It really was a crack as he hit the ball. Or he didn't burst the ball, he hit it so hard.
Start of play today. That another one. My goodness, that's gone beyond 143 miles an hour. That equals his fastest serve of all time. And I was going to say at the start of play today, the Wimbledon record was 138. So if that speed gun is correct, could have just witnessed fastest ever serve here at Wimbledon. And what a response. Both men bringing the thunder. Booming aces from the rackets of Mahou and Isner. Well played by Nicolas Mahou. Give himself set point.
6-5.
A sensible serve, that wide one, taking the speed off the ball, allowing to get close into the net. That made the volley an easy one.
Some real pressure on the Isner serve now. Serving to stay in the set. Wow. How do you deal with that? Not even close to getting a racket on that.
6-all.
That certainly was a cannonball of the serve as it cracked against the back netting. Really thundered against the canvas.
It's proving to be a real shootout here on court number 18. Both men's service games have been dominant. That serve up at 141 miles an hour.
7-6. Isner.
Well, the thrill of the tiebreak in this sort of situation is it now that it's Isner who has a set point.
Can he capitalize and nick the second set? just hopping on the spot in anticipation
7-all.
because he saw how close that attempted return was, just wide. It's back to parity in the tie-break once again. Good tennis. The lengthy stride of Isner ate up the ground to retrieve this initial volley.
8-7, Mahut.
But Mahut was equal to it. Anticipated well. Put that backhand volley away to give himself set point once again.
Goodness.
What an amazing return from Nicolas Mahut. On the backhand side of another thunderbolt to the serve from John Isner. But the anticipation was sensational. He leads 2-1.
7 games.
Carry on. So Mahut eventually prevailing by way of a tiebreak. What high quality tennis we saw displayed from both players in that third set.
Yes, the significant thing to my mind is the 22 winners for Isner and Mahut 20, though the one winner that he played on the match point sort of says it all, really. But a high quality set, dominated really by serve, not any break points, as you can see, except of course the tie break where both players had set points in the tie break. Isner had one and Mahut got it on his second set point, so that really was a spellbinding, thrilling set all told, and a little bit of a surprise, I think. Mahut at now 2-1. The 23rd seed in the draw is got a struggle on his hands. He's not had a lot of success on grass. So of his 6 matches that he's played on grass, he's only won 1. So his experience is relatively meagre in grass court terms, whereas Mahut has won 24 of his 17 encounters on grass. So there is a huge disparity in grass court experience.
What gets people so excited about Isner is the skill set and physical tools that he possesses, that if he could put it all together on this surface, he could be a real force to be reckoned with.
Well, I think the one thing that actually affected him, I mean, he had a couple of chances where he had to cover a lot of territory on the court, but being such a big man, didn't quite have the stability and the balance when he got to the ball to play the shot, which perhaps a smaller person might be able to play. And there were just the odd point here and there could have made the difference. I remember one short point there where he came up to that little angle volley from Mahut, where it was he played an angle in response. Mahut actually anticipated it. The match could have changed quite significantly, obviously, at that point in time. But the players at the moment have just taken a comfort break, I think it's described as, and I'm not surprised really. It's reached quite a hiatus, this encounter, and officials will be going with them and making sure that, things are carried out in the proper way, and the umpire there engaged in a bit of conversation. He's been enjoying this match. He's sort of smiling away. Mohamed Liani from Sweden, a very strong. There's someone who's taking a great deal of interest, not just in the tennis, but football as well.
As will Lindsay Davenport. Americans, of course, in England's group at the World Cup. Enjoying the proceedings here on court number 18. So Mahou heard that roar of delight as he put that phenomenal set point winner away.
Yes, one wonders how he felt when he saw that ball, you know, zipping, rocketing down the line. It must have been a wonderful feeling of ecstasy to see that ball going in for the winner and determining the set. Isner's now back. Both players. Here is that return. That really was hit so flat. He managed to get it just at the right height, open the face of the racket, so the face of the racket met the ball in the most efficient way. Both players have been having some nourishment, anticipation that could go a long way still this match. It's just the end of the third set. Has the feeling this might be a 5-setter.
Isner would like nothing more. Either player missing a beat. Isner just turning his palms upwards, saying to umpire Liani, I thought that was a little bit long.
Left for service.
Again, isn't it just asking the question? But it's Mahou's 21st ace.
Game,
Perhaps the first
game.
Sign of frustration from Isner. Threw his racket to the ground after losing that service game to Love. Just testing the tension of the net as well as he approached his seat.
Yes, a little despondent. I think he felt there a couple of serves were very close and possibly were out, and obviously disappointed that he lost that third set. The crowd are sensing that he needs his spirits to be lifted there. Just giving a little bit of applause.
Going to have to get that third set out of his mind pretty quickly. Focus on the task at hand. He's going with serve here in the fourth. Oh my goodness. A fortuitous net cord in favor of Mahou. Just danced on the net cord and practically died. From his perspective, on the right side of the net.
Isner really on his heels there, not anticipating that at all.
15 all.
Isner thought that was close.
Yes, it doesn't miss by much. This was just a fraction long. Not so dissimilar to the set point in the tie break.
Good shot.
Well, it's a brilliant forehand here.
15.
Isner. It may raise his spirits, give him some positive feelings there. It's a fine shot. Got to regroup mentally, I think.
40, 15.
Ace number 18.
Service. Okay, Mr. New balls, please.
Closes out that service game with another ace to make it 1 game all, going with serve.
1 game all, 4 set.
Here in the 4th. Playing for 2 hours now. These players took to the court. Brilliant sunshine was illuminating court number 18, now completely in shade. Perhaps slightly more comfortable for the players, and certainly from a visual perspective, don't have to deal with that tricky experience of the ball coming from the dark and emerging into the light. 2 hours of playing to test the energy and reserve levels of these guys now.
15 up.
Fantastic placement of serve once again from Mahut.
Out. 13 up.
Isner just having a little conversation with himself on this near side of the court to our commentary box. Perhaps some positive reinforcement. That is an exceptional volley from Mahut.
14 up.
He hasn't faltered much on the volley, and again behind the service line, it's a high ball. He does well to get that ball away for a winner. Natural feel on that side.
Game close. Mahut is 2 games to 1.
23 aces. Nicolas Mahut.
8-0 for points on serve in this set. Mahut has not been under any real threat on the return of serve. I think to a certain extent Isner has actually lost a little bit of resolve and a bit disappointed at having lost that 3rd set. But excellent serving that comes in. Keeps moving forward as he plays that volley. It hits the ball in front of him as he's moving forward. That gives us that little bit of extra impetus whilst retaining control. A good classic style backhand volley. But Isner, I think, requires a little bit of encouragement perhaps from some Americans watching, or some of his team who are at the side of the court. They're looking a little bit down at the moment. Not surprising.
But this
Time.
among the most individual of sports, have to ultimately raise himself.
Well, it can change so quickly. That's the beauty of tennis. You've only got to hit a couple of shots, get a bit of luck, maybe a net cord. He had a net cord against him, but net cord for you, and then suddenly belief comes back and you get energized. It's fluctuating emotions in this game of tennis. I suppose it applies to all sport, but particularly the momentum can change so quickly in tennis.
Delicate touch demonstrated on 2 occasions from John Isner.
Not quite sure what sort of shot here Mahou was trying to play. I mean, if he got there, but to attempt to lob was ambitious, I think.
From Nicolas Mahou. The initial return sounded as though it was a missed hit.
15.
Well, he finishes this off with a delightful volley there. The shot. Perfect control.
So continues to go with serve. Played by both players. As Isner took that return so early, only in a flash. But the outstretched volley from Mahou.
Left for service.
A good winner produced from Isner.
15 on.
That's an excellent shot. He moves his feet really well, skips to the side of the ball to give himself the right space to play that shot, and that may give him a bit of a confidence boost.
Let for service.
Fifth double fault of the game for Mahou.
It's a long while since he served a double fault. So this next point becomes quite a significant one. Isner really will be looking to try to get this one. Pressure's on Mahou just a touch. And now it's a second serve. Nice to see this Isner as a real chance.
Another double
15,
fault.
14.
That's the exact pattern he followed in the first set when he was broken. 2 double faults in succession. Gives Isner 2 break points here in the fourth. It's a good response
30,
from
14.
Mahut. Still facing break point. Deep volley from Mahut to force deuce.
Deuce.
Well, we have to credit Mahut with some fine volleying. He's really been almost faultless in this part of the court, and under pressure there, he really did successfully. Was he pounced on the net? He closed in. There's a little loss of rhythm on his serve. Another second serve here.
Well,
Advantage Isner.
3 double faults in this game alone. Prior to this game, he had only produced 3 double faults. Now the tally stands at 7.
Net for service.
Huge opportunity for Isner now. Break point on the second serve. Excuse me, the first serve after the left. A roar of delight from the Frenchman.
Well, it's a good return and
Use.
a fine shot under pressure here. He had to cover a lot of territory and find the right angle there, which he did. That was one of the best shots he's played in the entire match, given the circumstances. So 3 break points he saved.
Box.
So the 4th break point of the
Advantage
game
Isner.
for John Isner. This man has risen to the task on each occasion. Can he do so again? Set point on the second serve. Break point on the second serve.
Isner will be really kicking himself. Indeed, he's somewhat disenchanted. He didn't actually get onto that. This is an opportunity, this game, that really he can't afford to miss. These 4 break points. His opponent served 3 double faults, and we're still at deuce.
Now that's an impressive return from Isner to force the 5th break point of this game.
Advantage Isner.
Quite get enough angle with that serve. Earlier on in the match, he'd been getting that ball, that serve a bit wider, more difficult to return. Now, and Isner get the break of serve here. golden opportunity.
And he knew it.
Yes, he had time. It was his forehand.
Deuce.
Well, this is a bit of a nightmare game for Isner. And, who must be thanking his lucky stars.
Now gifted another opportunity. Break point number 6. As Mahut just lost his concentration completely.
We've said how well he's been volleying. This is really, that was a total mishit. Gosh, he must be nervous. He must be tense.
Let for service. Deuce.
125 miles an hour. And ace number 24 for Mahut.
Advantage Isner.
7 very often is a lucky number for people, or they say.
In some cultures.
Lucky 7 is it for this man.
Huge opportunity now for Isner.
Deuce.
Well, fails to take it yet again. 7th break point he has engineered. Mahut has found a response on each occasion.
This is certainly the game of the match.
Advantage. Mahut.
So now it's going to be the turn of Isner to find a response.
Remarkably, this is the first game point that Mahut has had in the entire game.
Wonderful return.
Deuce.
Well, it's not a bad serve, this, but a fine return. He really got onto that. He had to crouch, he got behind it, drilled it down the line. So this game's still up for grabs.
Played by Mahut to give himself another game point.
He gets into the net very quickly here. That's the secret of this point from his point of view. So well inside that service line and then closes in even further to cover the shot down the line. Solid play.
How audacious was that on his second serve, producing an ace and staves off 7 break points in that game.
Mahut leads 3 games to 2. Fourth set and by 2 sets to 1.
To eventually, finally hold, to lead by 3 games to 2 here in the 4th set.
Well, that has to be really disappointing, if not demoralizing, for, isn't it, the American? Who immense sense of relief to have held that serve. Really, in many ways, he had no right to do so. Had 7 break points against him, but finished there off in style with that lovely ace down the middle. And so keen to get to the net to change ends, having faced that tirade of shots from his opponent. Well, that was a remarkable game. Some 20 points in that one game alone. That's the equivalent of 5 or 6 games of tennis that we've had preceding it. So interesting now to see what transpires from this, whether Isner can really regroup and make sure he gets his focus to hold his own serve, because that's his task now. Maybe quite difficult for him to put that last game out of his mind. It's a real test for him.
How will Isner respond to that test? Because the opportunities were there, he created them, but failed to capitalize.
50 love.
Good return from Mahut.
Yes, he really jumped on that.
Pausing.
Thank you.
Well, umpire Mohammed Bayani just having to ask somebody in the crowd to quieten down. Came in the middle of a rally as well.
Okay. Isner.
134 miles an hour for that ace from Isner.
3 games over, 4th set. Led for service.
Very clever from Mahut.
15 up.
Yes, he came into the net very, very quickly. He didn't want that ball to drop too much, because otherwise that would become a really difficult shot to play.
Good rally. And a good finishing forehand from John Isner.
15 up.
Yeah, really up the tempo here in this point, Isner.
Will that perhaps be the spark to bring about a change in fortunes for Isner? Now that could well be the type of luck you were talking about, Mark. The net cord going in Isner's favour.
Yes, but he attacked that ball, didn't he? He's got different body language, as you say. He sparked into life. He looks a little bit more urgent now. Bouncing back.
Called out.
Well, that was a difficult smash here, because it was a mishit. He had to move his way deep into the back court there. Ambitious overhead, really, but he felt probably had to go for that shot. Otherwise, he was in such poor position on the court to play the next shot. So that gives Isner another chance for a break. 7 break points in the preceding service game.
Made good ground with those gigantic strides. Got there in plenty of time. Couldn't keep the ball in play and get it over the net.
Just doesn't quite have the same hands as he is. His opponent Mahou, the same feel for the ball. Got other attributes, of course.
Advantage Mahou.
Having got himself a break point, a game point down. Just out. But no mistake from Mahou. Holds his service game.
Mahou leads 4 games to 3, 4th set, and by 2 sets to 1.
Oh, just a slight amount of pressure on the serve of John Isner.
Yes, you're right. He has to hold on to this serve, otherwise his opponent's going to be serving for the match. And so you're right, there is just that little bit of pressure. And the fact is, too, he's had the last couple of service games of Mahou, he's really had the opportunity to make the break. And really, it was the little touch shot that gave him the real chance when he came up to that short ball really, if he had slightly better hands, as they say, perhaps he would have been now a break up instead of really struggling. Interesting, really, to get into the mind of Isner at the moment, see how he feels, because he's had this set in the palm of his hands and just cannot grasp it. Unfortunate from his point of view. Fortunately, it's a very clear night tonight, because very often at this time in the evening play would be almost impossible because it would be so dark. Here we are coming up to 8:45. It's real, at the moment, still plenty of light, but I suspect if this match went to a 5th set, it wouldn't be able to be completed. Isner serving 3-4.
Oh, deep ground strokes from Mahou.
Love 15.
And he's sensing how important this game is. All of Isner's fighting quality is now going to be put to the test in this service game. And Mahou is beginning to warm to his task. Just demonstrating little positive reinforcements, pumping his fist. Big opportunity for him now. Love 30 on the Isner serve.
15-30.
Can turn things around in a hurry. With 132-mile-an-hour ace. Number 25. Excuse me, 23 for Isner.
Sure. $40-30.
Isner realized how important that service game was.
4 games on, 4th set.
Gentle show of emotion from him. It's all tied here in set number 4. So it's Mahou who will perhaps feel the pressure ever so slightly now. Just long.
15.
That's a good point, that both players hitting some really sound, solid shots. A little bit unlucky, really, with this one. Just travelling fractionally long. Down to it so well.
15 all. Thirty 15. Forty 15.
Good serve to the body. Adds a touch of variation and variety just to keep his opponent guessing.
Left for service.
So Mahut holds serve. Isner will be serving to stay in the match.
Yes, he's done well to get himself into this situation. Who, when you consider those two games where he really was being scrutinized intensively by Isner, that's 7 break points on the one service game and then a break point on the subsequent service game. There's a good serve into the body there. He did well to lock that ball back, Isner, and Mahut recovers quickly as he moves forward here to play the backhand volley, and having moved forward, that volley becomes much easier than if he'd have stayed back on the service line. He's got good natural instincts around the net, and that's been a feature of this match. The sun is now starting to get fairly low. And I suspect when the sun does fall a little bit below the horizon, it's going to get dark very quickly here. It's been a splendid day. The weather has been absolutely superb. It's possible there's still a lot of life in this match.
Isner looking to force a 5th and deciding set. Mahut looking to close out proceedings as quickly as possible. Evens the ace count, 25 apiece. Oh, now that is a wonderful passing shot from Mahut.
There's a touch of brilliance here. He's very quick onto this ball. Early racket, taking the racket back early, giving time to play that shot. And he hasn't had many double faults in the match. No, that's his 4th. And not the best of times to do it.
Mahou just skipping in anticipation in the backcourt. That's an impressive response from Isner.
40-30.
Closes out the service game with an ace.
5 games off.
Mahou doesn't like the call.
Well, on the replay, it certainly looks as though he probably hit the tee, but it was so fast. It's difficult to be absolutely accurate. The linesperson's in the best position to see it.
Come on, John. Is he ready for that serve?
Left for service.
Here's that final ace, perhaps not questioning the call, but not ready to receive it, perhaps.
15 love.
Well, he's responded well with an ace there.
Very good return from Isner.
15 on. $30-15.
Serving volley being an effective weapon in Mahou's armory. Not that all wrong.
40-15.
Well, that's been an effective shot for Mahou in this match, that little short volley. It's dangerous against a lot of players, but against Isner, that's paid real dividends.
Mahou really senses that he has the momentum now. Look how quickly he got back to his chair. In comparison with Isner, who seemed to take all the time in the world. Rather despondent walk back.
Well, from Isner's point of view, he played a lot of good shots in that rally, and there the lob that he played, that normally I think would have been a winner, and he perhaps could have capitalized on that half smash that was played, and he allows him, the Frenchman, to get back into the rally again. And that shot was fairly ineffective because then Mahou was able to dictate and can take control of the point. But that was a real opportunity for the American, and so now he's put in the invidious or the difficult task. He's got to hold on to his serve to get into the tiebreak, and then we're into the roulette situation of the tiebreak, which he's got to win.
Just how large do those 7 break points loom in the mind of John Isner? That was one service game where who staved off 7 break points. The following service game of the Frenchman, he faced another break point.
Love 15.
And a double fault to begin this service game. You hear that cannoning into the canvas at the back of the court. Another ace.
$30-15. $40-30.
Well, from Mahut's point of view, he'd love to try and get himself into a break point position here in this game. Isner still with game point.
Game.
Closes the game. Ace number 28 at 132 miles an hour.
6 games all, 4th set, tiebreak.
And that ace brought about the tiebreak here in set number 4. Mahut to serve.
Well, Isner really taking his time in the corner of the court here. He needs to muster all of his resources, I think. He can't afford to falter in one of the next 2 points.
One off.
Well served.
Mahut.
Double fault at a critical time here in the tiebreak. Hasn't served many. Mahut in the driving seat now during this tie break.
3-1, Mahut.
He's had a bit of a chance here because this volley didn't go away decisively and he's in good position. Didn't quite turn quickly enough there. He's a bit slow.
Oh,
You sense that might happen. He's
3-2, Mahut.
served a few double faults and tense moments.
that is 8th double fault of the match, as Mark has alluded to. All have come at critical junctures in the contest. Let's Isner back in here in a tie break.
Faults. 3-0.
That's a fine serve, and this occasion comes into the net very quickly to dispatch that volley quite decisively. It's edgy tennis though at the moment, tense around this court. Spectators really quiet with anticipation and excitement here. Feels almost anything can happen.
Well played.
For 3, Isner.
Yes, Isner did play well there because Mahut really launched himself into a couple of ground strokes. So now a little bit of pressure on Mahut. How's he going to serve? 3-4 down in this tie break.
Will this perhaps be another double fault from the Frenchman? Indeed it is.
5-3, Isner.
Well, at the next point, in this situation, he should make sure that he gets his first serve into play. May have to take the speed off of it just a touch. But to have to face playing a second serve again will really put too much pressure on him.
And now, set point for John Isner. The most emotion we've heard and seen from him
6-3.
all game long,
Isner.
all match long.
Well, 5 points in a row have gone down the drain for the Frenchman. That's it. That's the set.
Okay. tough set, isn't it?
So into a fifth set we go, as John Isner prevails in the tiebreak.
Please.
It's going to be interesting to see whether the match will continue at this stage. I suspect it may be that they will ask the players whether they want to continue. In fact, indeed, the officials, they're having a discussion here as to whether it would be appropriate at this stage to postpone the match and start tomorrow with the prospect of a full set.
Well, I'm sure if it was possible to continue, even though they've been playing for close to 3 hours, 2 hours 54 minutes now, this match in duration, but Isner would love to carry on.
The issue is, I think, that it's probably unlikely to be able to finish this match anyway. I suppose that's the discussion that is taking place. I agree with you 100%. Isner, having won the fourth, he's on a roll. He wants to continue. I'm not sure whether who has actually left the court at this stage for a temporary break. It is. Judging by the fact that everybody is staying on court at this moment in time, it looks as though play will continue.
The only picture I've got of his Marks wearing shades, so it's not very helpful. So just taking on board some nutrition. Did well to fight his way back into this match. Dealt with the demons of failing to capitalize on 7 break points in one service game. Had another break point in another service game.
Having a discussion here at the centre of the court with the I think having a discussion as to whether they feel it appropriate to continue. Obviously the assistant referee there is indicating there's not going to be enough time to finish this match. It's going to get dark quite quickly.
Right, you would come back tomorrow, second match after 12 on the same court. So second match, men's match, or I don't know. But you would be same court tomorrow, second match.
So it looks as though they're going to
due to
conclude
darkness,
this.
play suspended.
Well, it couldn't be more evenly poised. 2 sets all. The 5th set will begin tomorrow here on court number 18. And so delicately balanced after some high-quality tennis here in the first round of the men's singles competition.
Yes, I suppose in view of the fact that Isner did have all of those break points during the set, in fact 8 in total, he in some ways deserves to have won that 4th set. He took the last 6 points in the tiebreak. He really did play well there in the culmination of that. Mahmoud probably will be delighted to actually think about things and come back tomorrow.
So it's the equivalent of 1 set sudden death when these players return to the court tomorrow. Will be second here on court number 18. The 5th and final set will decide the outcome of this first round match.